Well, Mike Russell is the Scottish Government's Cabinet Secretary for the Constitution, Europe and External Affairs and joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
I wonder, from what you witnessed yesterday, do you think that your colleague, the First Minister, has done enough to save her reputation?
Well, she did 8 hours of answering questions. I think the Labour MSP Jackie Bailey said on Tuesday that there were lots of questions to be answered. She answered them and she, in my view, told the truth. And I think that that is the key issue. I think the committee heard from her exhaustively. And I think what they heard was exactly how things are. And I think the public have reacted to that too. I think there's a clear understanding that she has laid out everything she knows and done it in a way that accepts the faults that have to be accepted in terms of what took place. And there were some things that went very badly wrong, but also entirely clearly to scotch the myths of the conspiracy theories that have been built up, though some members still wanted to talk about them yesterday, regrettably.
Well, the First Minister did admit that there had been serious mistakes made and apologised for those. But as you say, committee members say there are still serious questions that remain. We heard just before the news there from Conservative MSP Murdo Fraser. He said she didn't rebut. She denied lots of claims. He said that Alex Salmond had produced corroborating evidence and that the First Minister had denied the claims that he made but hadn't produced evidence.
Well, I think that's nonsensical. I think it was entirely clear what she said. And if Murdo Fraser is now judging people on the standard of whether they did what he wanted them to do, then that's not an inquiry. That's a witch hunt.
Could it be suggested that the First Minister remembered incidents which exonerate her very, very vividly and told the committee about that, but incidents about which she's less clear and which don't quite fit her narrative, she glossed over?
No, I believe that would be an uncharitable and an inaccurate account of what took place. I think anybody who watched it, and it's a long watch, realised how candid and honest she was about things. And it is very hard in anybody's life, let alone a very busy life, to remember everything. She was clear about that. She was clear about the things that she was certain of. She was open to discussion of other issues. And she was certainly not dogmatic in any way. I mean, I don't see how any fair-minded person watching that yesterday could come away with any conclusion other than she told the truth. She told it to the best of her ability. And she certainly demolished the scare stories, the conspiracy theories, and the lies that have been told. And she did it very effectively, and she did it graciously too.
Are there not still questions, though, about some of the issues that have been brought up, specifically about the leak of the complainant's name to the former First Minister, Alex Salmond, and also around these meetings about what she knew and when, the meetings on the 29th of March and the 2nd of April?
She gave evidence under oath, and she explained all of those matters in absolutely great detail, and that is on the record. It's on oath and on the record, and it will be published as part of the official report. That is what people asked her to do. That is what she has been keen to do for weeks. I think it was cancelled 5 or 6 times by external factors, nothing to do with her. And you know, I think we could go on forever with this, but the reality is out there, in the rest of the world, and there were serious mistakes and people were let down by this, but in the rest of the world we are in a pandemic and we have to address the other problems we have too. I think obsessing about this from Murdo Fraser is not about getting about the truth. It is politicking. We saw that, unfortunately, this week.
Well, it is about getting at the truth. If the answers to those questions mean that the First Minister may have broken the ministerial code.
Well, that is a separate issue, as you know, a separate issue for an inquiry, but she was very comprehensive about that when she spoke about it. But we have the ludicrous spectacle of 2 motions of no confidence lodged within 24 hours of each other. There have only been 4 in the entire lifetime of the Parliament. And the game was given away by Douglas Ross, who is apparently the leader of the Scottish Tories. So I have to say, if he did this, then he's not fit for it, saying that it didn't matter. He said this on Tuesday night. It didn't matter what she said at the inquiry. She still had to go. She was still guilty. That is so contrary to the principles of natural justice that it should be called out immediately.
Let's wait, though, until we find out what the inquiry says. But in terms of the SNP, your colleagues at Westminster have called for Priti Patel to go numerous occasions.
And she has never sat in front of an inquiry on oath for 8 hours. I mean, that is the really big difference, and it shouldn't be played
Is it
down.
okay then for her to stay? If she breaks the ministerial code, is it okay for her to stay?
No, I'm sorry, Laura. This is really important. For 8 hours, she sat and answered questions under oath. I know of no other politician, certainly not Priti Patel, who has done that. That evidence sits there and is on the record.
It's about whether or not a minister breaks the ministerial code, though, is it not, Mr. Russell?
And that is a separate
if the First Minister is found to have, but if the First Minister is found to have broken the ministerial code, does she have to go?
I do not believe she will be found guilty of breaking the ministerial code. She was clear about what she did yesterday. That question was also asked repeatedly yesterday. We could go on forever like this, or we could accept that when somebody comes along and gives evidence for 8 hours and answers every single question comprehensively, then we accept that is an important contribution. We don't try and rerun it the next morning and the morning after that and next week.
Well, then let's look at it that perhaps in a different way. Will the Scottish Government take the conclusion of this committee seriously, whatever conclusion that is?
Absolutely. That is what she said yesterday. And I hope this committee will, and I'm sure it will, take its duty seriously and not see it as an extension of politics. There were regrettable moments yesterday, particularly from Margaret Mitchell, when it descended into a type of politics. Margaret Mitchell was talking, so far as one could understand a lot of it, was talking about the election eventually yesterday and claiming all sorts of weird things. Now, the reality is...
This is bringing the politics into it too, Michael Russell.
Yes, well, of course.
If and when we actually get a report, will the Scottish Government take its conclusion seriously?
She said, of course, that is what she said yesterday, and that's what I'm saying today, but I'm also pointing out that the committee had the duty to step back and to consider this very seriously, not just what she has said yesterday, but all the evidence. And of course she said, and I confirm it, to be taken seriously.
If the committee doesn't find the First Minister's evidence to be credible, and if the other investigation into the ministerial code finds against the First Minister, will she then have to go?
Well, I believe, first of all, that she did not break the ministerial code, so I'm not going to speculate on that. I believe also that she gave a comprehensive account of herself yesterday for 8 hours under oath, and I believe that what she did was tell the truth.
But you're not on that committee. If the committee I'm not on the
does
committee. Not find the First Minister. Yeah, but the question I'm asking is, if the committee does not find the First Minister's evidence credible and finds against her, will she have to go?
Well, I am saying that I found it credible. I hope the committee finds it credible. The people of Scotland found it credible. I'm not going to speculate.
Is anybody in the Scottish Government going to take any responsibility for what went wrong with this?
She was absolutely... Oh, well, sorry, that is a separate question, Laura. Don't conflate the two of them. The reality is she was very clear yesterday, and exhaustively clear yesterday, that she took responsibility. She also talked about the fact that the committee had not finished its inquiry, and it would no doubt bring forward recommendations on this. She apologised profusely for the people who had been let down.
Is an apology enough?
She was very... Well, she was very, very clear that she thought there would be further action that was required on this. She was very clear about this.
So no one should resign, nobody should lose their job.
It's worth absorbing all of it. No, that's not what she said. That is not what she said.
I'm asking you.
You said no. You didn't ask me. You made the statement. I'm saying
no. I did. I asked you. Should anybody in the Scottish Government going to take responsibility for the failings of the system?
She took responsibility. She is the leader of the Scottish Government, but she also said that she waited for the committee to come back and to say what it thought. And she said that that issue was not over yet, nor should it be. Of course, there have to be consequences for such serious errors. But the committee is looking at those. You're wanting me, first of all, to say what I will do if the committee says A, B or C. Let's see what the committee says.
Mike Russell, Cabinet Secretary for the Constitution, thank you very much indeed for your time this morning.